The Anne Frank house is right to that direction. I'll point to it in a second, but here's a little monument for her. And I just also noticed that there's a little plaque. I'll take a picture of this and put it on my Facebook. And then once I leave, so you go from this area and then you head this direction. You hit this direction and you make a right and you'll be at the house. So this is the entrance, the original entrance of the house. And here's the entirety of the house. And apparently her and her family are hiding even above that floor in an attic space, I believe. Now this is the front of the house, which is part of the museum now. There is no brass square plaque on the front of it like I saw in those other places. But I'm going to, that's not where you enter. I'll show you where you enter. Just watch the traffic, because where I'm walking now is actually a road and bikeway. So I gotta get back on the sidewalk. So this is all now part of the museum. People are in it already. My time's in about a half hour, but you just can't walk up and get tickets. These things are sold out. Some of these people may be waiting on standby. So you walk over here and the museum entrance is there. And that's where you enter, and then that's where I'm going in now. So I'm about a half hour early. It's 11 o'clock. My tour starts at 11:30, and I got within the email it says be here a half hour, 30 minutes prior to your start time, which is now. And then on the ticket itself it says be here at least 5 minutes prior. So I went to go identify myself, and I got about a half hour to go. Right? Yeah. It's 11 o'clock now, so I'm here in plenty of time. But if you look over here, people are queued up, and she goes, no, just wait. You're here early. But my recommendation is be here 30 minutes before your event start time. Now there's two different types of events. One is just like the tour of the house, which is about an hour, or you can add on a 30-minute prior interpretation of some dialogue, some history behind it, where you have a little bit more in-depth, get a little more in-depth knowledge. And that's the one I did. I did the 30 minutes prior plus the hour tour. So whatever that half-hour presentation start time is, still get her a half hour in advance. But nonetheless, get the tickets when you can. My wife Julie got them. I think they sold out within an hour or two from them posting. You're just not going to walk here on the day of and get a ticket to get in. So I hope that helps. Let me spin it around. I'll show you some architecture real quick. So it's kind of cool. You see the old and the modern. All right, that's it for now. That's kind of cool too. Okay, bye everybody. Okay, this is a really important note I wanted to tell you guys. So remember I said I had the half-hour program prior? Well, the first time I showed my ticket to the lady, there's a lady up front, she saw the 11:30. She thought I was on the regular one. She sent me this the wrong line. There's a white line for someone who doesn't have the program. There's a blue line. I'll show you in a second. So if you have the 30-minute presentation prior to the 1 hour tour, you're going to the blue line. I'll show you what I mean. So if you see these hash marks, right? Center screen, see those white lines? Those white little dashes progress back. But if you have the 30-minute presentation prior, you're going to stand behind these blue lines. Do not go to the white. Do not go to the white one.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just so you know, this is all 11:15. They get picked up first, and
okay.
after you can go in this line.
All right. So all 11:15 goes first. Okay, I'll make sure that I don't block anybody.
Here, just so you know that you get picked from this door on the right.
Perfect.
Yeah?
Thank you for telling me. I appreciate it. So I'm sitting at a park, about a 45-minute to an hour tram ride. You got to go on a couple of different trams for public transportation. Maybe if you take a taxi, you can get here in 30 minutes. Over my right-hand shoulder, because I'm in selfie mode, over my right-hand shoulder you see a statue behind me. A statue of Anne Frank. 16 years old at the time of death. Bergen-Belsen is where she ended up passing away with her sister, Margaret. Of the four of the family that were taken, her father Otto was the only one that survived. The 16-year-old girl left a diary behind. Majority of you watching this know of it. if you just know of it and don't know it, I recommend getting to know it. You'll hear your own voice in her words. You'll see today's problems in our political system in her words. You'll see the world struggles of today in her words when she was growing up. You guys also know that when I was in Rome back in 1998, I came across the Jewish ghetto with those brass plaques. Now those brass plaques have been put in place in just about every country where the Holocaust had affected or taken people. So what I'm going to show you next, like I said, I'm about 45 minutes to an hour from what is known as the Anne Frank house, which is where her and her family and a few other people were in hiding. It was actually a office space and some storage spaces. It wasn't necessarily her home. So I'm going to flip the polarity of the camera around and walk you over to what she last knew as a home. So this park is dedicated. This park is dedicated to her. And yeah, she's one of the millions. One of the millions who have had. And I look at this picture and I can just see her with those are the bags that they told her to bring to the train station. What makes her story so unique is that she documented the plight in a diary, and it's not just any other 16-year-old's diary. Like I said, if you flip through a few of the pages, you'll get the idea. And when her father was liberated by the Red Army, he was given the diary from the people who were hiding him. Said, "Hey, we have some of your daughter's stuff." And then he found out that his 2 daughters had died of typhus. I think it was. They died of typhus in the concentration camp. Now, as I walked down the street earlier, I saw 1 or 2 markers here, 1 or 2 down. I'll put them on my Facebook site. But here I'm approaching 4 markers. Just like the ones I first found in Rome, Italy. And I apologize, I know there's a shade being cast over them. Otto Frank, the father. Edith Frank, with her maiden name, the mom. He was in Auschwitz, and I believe that was Fried. She died on, it looks like June 1st, 1945 in Auschwitz. Sister Margaret Frank, Bergen-Belsen, died in 1945, no specific month or date. And Anne Frank, Bergen-Belsen, 1945. So there's the 4 family. I believe it was 37. I believe that was the entry for the house. The markers are in between 35 and 37. I'm going to back up a little bit so you can see it with the bigger perspective. Okay, so could have been any one of those apartments. There's 37, 35, and the markers right there. So when I was at the 30 minutes, you can sign up and do a 30-minute presentation before you actually walk through the house. When you walk through the house, you're somewhat on your own with an audio device as you move through. You don't have a guide with you at that point. But in those 30 minutes, you go into a separate room, and the presenter we had was very informative, very impressive. But there was a little black and white picture of those 4 markers. So I knew right away what they were. So I asked, I showed him the pictures I had been taking. And I said, I looked all around this property, I didn't see them. And he said, well, this is the house that they were apprehended from. This is the location they were apprehended from in hiding. This is not what she knew as a home. This wasn't her home. So the guy that was behind putting those plaques in decided to put them in front of her home. And he said, do you want to know where it's at? And I said, absolutely. Absolutely, I want to know where that's at. So before we left, he typed in the address in my Google Maps, and I found it. And I think he was surprised because at the end of his presentation, he's asked if anybody had any questions, and that was one of the questions I had asked him. It's like, I see you have a black and white photo, but where are they? And then I showed him the pictures. Like I said, on this trip alone, found them in Rome, Venice, Milan, and then my daughters found one in Berlin. I personally didn't see any in Berlin, but I could imagine them. And he said if you look around enough here in Amsterdam, you'll find more. So just wanted to share that with you guys. I did buy 2 books. The sun, I can't stand when the sun does that. I did buy 2 books at the bookstore, and I've been trying to keep the weight of my backpack down, but I bought 2 books. One was the book called, I apologize, I forget the title, but it was the one that she wanted to compose that her father actually published for the first time, I think in 1949. And it was just her diary and her notes, and it was compiled. And then I bought a secondary book that shows some of the pictures that you see. It describes the house, it describes some of the things going on. It's not her writings, it's about her writings. It's impressive. I mean, I can talk forever about this topic, and I know I'm running on right now. So let me just wrap this up and just say, hey, thanks for following along. It was a very moving day for me to be there and to be in front of that house and seeing those brass markers. There's a specific name for them, and I'll write it in the description box. All right, hey, thanks a lot. Tomorrow I get on a train for the D-Day beaches in Normandy, and what's really kind of interesting is that they talk about how when the people, at least here in Amsterdam, they talk about how Hitler started putting up the Atlantic Wall, and then they heard about the invasion from the Allies. And that gave a lot of the people who were still in the resistance, I can get the message, whether it be from black market radios or hearing it through some other voice of communication, that gave them hope, knowing that. And her dad, Otto, was tracking the progression of the Allied forces moving in and hoping, it's like, hey, this is going to be it. We're going to be, okay. The Allies are here. And obviously he didn't finish that map and pin set because he got apprehended, but that map and pin set was still in the hidden areas, and you could see that. But there was a lot of hope, so it's going to mean a lot to me to go to the Normandy beaches tomorrow, especially what I've learned so far, and hearing how that invasion gave people who were oppressed so much hope. Once again, let me just close this. I'm running my mouth. All right, guys, have a good night. Bye.